Good evening and welcome to the April 19th, 2021 Mount Clemens City Commission meeting. It's 7 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Campbell. Fournier.
Here.
Goodnow.
Here.
Hammond.
Here.
Crop.
Here.
Metzer.
Here.
Voorhees.
Here.
Motion to excuse Commissioner Campbell.
Support. Moved by Commissioner Mentzer, supported by Commissioner Hammond. Roll call, please.
Fournier.
Yes.
Goodnow.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Metzer.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Agenda item 4, announcements, acknowledgements, communications, and reports. This evening, we will have a presentation by the Boys and Girls Club. The representative from the Boys and Girls Club is the CEO, Sean Wilson. Sean is on the call this evening and he is ready for the presentation. So without further ado, Sean, if you want to take it away.
Sure. So thank you for having me this evening. Excited to be here and figure I would take a little time just to introduce you to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Southeastern Michigan, our mission, our model, and ultimately, our social impact model overall. And then where we are in the exploratory phase of potentially opening up a club in Mount Clemens. So I've been on board for about 2.5 years before coming to Boys and Girls Club of Southeastern Michigan. I was with Ford Motor Company Fund on the philanthropic side. So I was a grant maker. And when I came to the Boys and Girls Club a couple of years ago, the thought was really to reimagine the model for greater community impact. And in order to do that, we started by engaging the community. So in my first 100 days as president, I engaged over 300 community stakeholders from youth to parents, staff, board members, funders, and basically asked, how do we reimagine this brand for greater impact on the community? And what came out of it was a need to address the root cause of the problem facing most of our youth, which is poverty. So often, I've been doing this work about 25 years, so often we treat the symptom. We really focus on a single symptom, whether it's graduating kids on time, helping young ladies avoid teen pregnancy, gun violence, high incarceration rates. But, as I always say, the truth is the core root of that is poverty, poverty, poverty. So working along with the community and Bridgespan consulting firm, we created a model which we believe puts youth and families on a pathway to economic mobility. And we define economic mobility as youth leaving our clubs career, startup, and homeowner ready. So we want the youth to be able to earn a livable wage throughout their life. We want them to have the skills to start their own business, thus creating their own jobs. And then ultimately, we want them to understand the importance of home ownership because that's the backbone of wealth building in our country and how we pass wealth on from generation to generation. So in order to do that, we focus on making sure they have access to our model, both physically, meaning we want to be located in the neighborhoods that need us the most. We also make sure that we're affordable. So our youth membership is $50 a year. And even with that, we turn no kids away. And we still scholarship 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 kids in every year. And then once they have access, it's about safety, physically and social emotionally, then skill development and self-efficacy. So that model we've been implementing for the last couple of years has been extremely successful. It's allowed us to begin reimagining our facility. So as an example, I'm actually sitting in one of our co-working spaces. We're the only Boys and Girls Club in the country to offer co-working spaces and maker spaces for small businesses, primarily women-owned and entrepreneurs of color. And we've been expanding that model. This one club right here that I'm sitting in, the Doubt Club, has a production studio, with 3 editing bays, a black box theater. It has an innovation lab with 3D printing, laser printing, coding stations. It has a cafe. So we've really been able to, because of our new model, really turn the Boys and Girls Club from a brand where it's about a safe place and gym swim really into a place where you go to drive economic mobility for your family and for your community. We're super focused on hyper local partnerships. And so we talk about everything from a lens of a ecosystem. We like to make sure that our system, that we really engage partners within our ecosystem defined as a 5-mile radius around our clubs. So when we look at program partners, one of the things we implemented is understanding that the Boys and Girls Club can't do it all. And ultimately, we want our staff to be the best at curating a world-class experience when the youth come through our doors and building those long-term relationships. And then when we look to focus in on specific programming like STEM or STEAM or career pathway programming, we actually go out and engage local program partners and pay them to engage our youth. Using that model, we've been able to put $1.8 million back into our ecosystems around our clubs, primarily supporting Black and brown businesses, female-owned businesses, businesses that are below $500,000 in annual revenue or below. So we're super targeted on making sure that all tides rise, all boats rise when the tides rise, right? So we're really excited about the opportunity to explore coming into Mount Clemens. It really came by way of multiple introductions. We are exploring 2 sites, and we hope to be able to come into 2 sites in Macomb County overall. But we're really excited about the Mount Clemens opportunity. Had some time to visit the facility. Last week, we did a couple of visioning sessions with the community and also presented at the church, the local church there. And all of the feedback has been super positive. Hopefully what you're garnering from this, and I want to thank the commissioners who were able to attend to kind of see firsthand how we engage the community. But we believe in partnerships. We believe in being invited into the community. And we believe that the community knows best on a local level what they need. And of course, the Boys and Girls Club has a specific model, but then we work with the community to bring those components that are most relevant to that community and also add unique components into that model as well. So with that, I guess I'll turn it over to, I'll open it up for any questions.
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
Fournier.
Sean, I have to say that I was part of one of your virtual workshops last week, and it really went well. It was a lot of fun. You've got a great connection with the community, and I can see where you guys can be very successful, and I'm happy to write a letter if that's what you need. But I did want to ask, just so that we're all very clear about this, how the financial end of this works. So I believe the thought was that we would lease the Carnes Center to Boys and Girls Club. How do you do this financially? What's the city's obligation? What's on your back? How do you do this?
Yeah, so each community is unique. Every opportunity is unique. I can kind of tell you how we've done it in other models, which is we would traditionally lease the facility for $1 a year, right? And then in exchange, we would be responsible.
You lost me, didn't you?
Did you hear me? Oh, did I break up?
You were okay, Sean. Laura, did you lose us? Commissioner Fournier, are you there?
I am back now. It just, my internet connection is unstable.
We're gonna have to get a wow out there for you.
I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna call him right now. It's already gone out twice. So I apologize. I hope you got the gist of the question.
Yeah, he did. And he started off with, we would lease Carnes typically for $1. So go ahead and take it away, Sean.
Correct. So, traditionally we would lease the facility for $1 a year. And then we would ultimately be responsible for maintaining that facility. We'd be responsible for fully operating that facility, whether it's the staffing, the the programmatic expenses. We would negotiate where if there is any significant, so for instance, if the roof needed to be replaced, well, we would ask the city to cover that expense if the boiler went out. So we would specify which components of maintenance would be in there as part of the partnership. But ultimately, other than a few big ticket items, we would ultimately be responsible for fully, managing the space, keeping up basic maintenance. If we're talking about, basic construction or painting or flooring or, those kind of things, that would all be on the Boys and Girls Clubs. If we raise dollars to do any improvements, we would traditionally negotiate that we would have to get permission from the city to be able to do that. So it's usually if you're knocking down walls or putting up walls, those are the kind of items that we would seek permission from the city to do if we're doing major renovations on the fields, the sports fields, things of that nature, just because we would ultimately want the city to sign off on that because it could change the functionality of the space, right? But we would be looking for a long-term lease for the space, 10, 15 years, something of that nature. Happy to negotiate, 5 years at a time renewable, automatic renewing, if you will. But at the end of the day, for Boys and Girls Club, we're a 95-year-old brand. And so when we go into a community, we give it a lot of thought, and we make sure that we have the ability to stay into that community long term. So we don't like to look at short-term lease options. We'd much rather prefer to look at long-term lease options so that it demonstrates our commitment to the community and our goal of being in that community long term.
And I agree with that. I think the commitment is very, very important, and that makes total sense. I don't even think you need to pay $1, but I when it comes to the program content and what's offered at the center, then you would be in charge of all that, correct?
Correct. So
and you may look.
What's
Go
that?
ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say absolutely, but once again, our model is very community centered, and so we constantly elevate community voice to find out what they want, what type of programs they want. Now, once again, we have our standard programs that we run, leadership programs, things of that nature, but we like to really stay flexible because if the community says, hey, we want this, then they're going to use it, right? And that's the ultimate goal is we want the highest possible use in that facility as possible.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions.
Oh, go ahead.
Sean, unfortunately, fortunately, whatever, I was on vacation when you had your presentation, so I'm sorry I missed them. But when you say maintaining the facility, do you mean that the Boys and Girls Club will be responsible for heating, cooling, electric, the lawn maintenance?
Correct. So we would pay utilities. We would be responsible for the grounds, maintaining the lawn, snow removal, things of that nature. But for instance, if there was a need to rewire the electrical for some reason, we would look at the city for that. If we had to replace the roof, we would look for the city for that, or the HVAC or boiler.
Sure.
Those kind of things. But everything else, day-to-day operations is how we look at it. We would fully maintain that at no cost to the city.
Okay. All right. That answers my question. Thank you.
Sean, you in your previous presentation mentioned using local assets or local programming as something that the Boys and Girls Club does in other ecospheres. Is that what we call them?
Ecosystems. Yep.
Ecosystems. So, for example, we have a great art center in Mount Clemens. We have a really strong library. Those types of things. Are those partners that you would be looking for?
Absolutely. So if the community identifies specific programs and then there are specific program partners in Mount Clemens, we always want to lean to them first. Even when we do things like catering and all those things, we always want to go hyper local. We really track how often we're recirculating our dollars back into that local community, because what we realize is, there may be a Mount Clemens caterer who we engage, well, most likely that's a mom or a dad of one of our club members, right? And so absolutely we want to uplift the whole family. And if there's someone who has a fantastic leadership development program, absolutely we want to engage them because ultimately, if they're from the community, they're going to have deep relationships in the community. They carry a different level of credibility in the community, which then gives us credibility. And so we always look to engage those. And our process is ultimately, we do what we call demo days, where we'll bring in certain partners, potential partners to pitch to the kids, to pitch to the community. And then the community votes on which partners are able to come in, should come in. And then the community helps to assess them as well, along with the Boys and Girls Clubs. And so that way, it really helps the community feel like their voice is heard where we're spending our dollars as well.
One of the concerns at the North Broadway Church, our meeting on last Thursday, they were concerned with like senior opportunities or opportunities for other than children, I guess you would say. So is that something that the Boys and Girls Club would be interested in, or is that something that they would just be, that we could then use the building at its time the Boys and Girls Club isn't using it? I mean, how could that work within that sphere?
Nope. So it's part of our model. We definitely heard that during the visioning session as well, where there's, multi-generational use requested in it. And that's the power. If you have that facility, the goal should be to utilize it as much as possible, right? And so when the kids are in schools, if you're using it for seniors, if you're using it for entrepreneurs, job workforce development program, wraparound services, we heard those loud and clear, especially the wraparound services. So, we're open to providing all of those services, because once again, it doesn't benefit anybody if we're only using the facility from 3 p.m. until 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. right? That's a small block of time to be using a 12,000 square foot facility, versus if we can maximize it during the day for the community. Because once again, our model is about economic mobility. So we want parents coming for job training programs. We want it to be a place where people can come and start their own businesses. We want it to be a place where they can come and get wraparound services, whether it's food distribution, tax help during tax time, helping them sign up for social services. Those are all things that we could definitely see happening. And then most importantly, when you bring them together, that's really powerful, for family nights and then also just intergenerational programming. So I think our new model, the Boys and Girls Club model, can definitely fit that need.
One more question. I know you've only been there 2 years, but are there any tangible results that you could share that have happened at other clubs that, have shown that this model is working?
Yeah, so probably the biggest, benchmark, if you will, is that there's a saying, people vote with their feet, right? And so when you look at, in 2 years, we went from serving less than 12,000 youth in families, 21,000 youth and families. So we've almost doubled the number of people that we serve on an annual basis in 2 years. We've expanded our model into new communities as well. We've absorbed sports team or entire sports leagues because of it. So to me, that's the greatest indicator. I mean, we've doubled our budget, tripled our budget in 2 years as well. So those are all important indicators. But to me, the most important indicator is that we've almost doubled the number of people that we're serving on an annual basis. And mind you, last year alone, during the pandemic, we added 6,000 youth members to the Boys and Girls Club because of our model.
That's great. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Sean? Oh, Denise, go ahead.
Yeah. So Sean, I want you to write this name down. Sheila Moore Beeman. She lives on Clemens, almost exactly across from Carnes. You get her to come in and teach line dancing lessons, and I'm there.
Sheila Moore Beeman. Gotcha.
Yep.
As long as I don't have to take the lessons.
No, no.
Okay, because dancing is not my thing. Okay,
I have a
perfect.
couple questions.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Hammond.
Yes, the presentation last week was a great presentation. Will you be doing another visioning session with the community?
Yes, I believe it's the 29th. I'm going
Yes.
off the top of my head. Yep,
Yep.
The 29th.
Okay. And also last week's session, are we able to view it online or get a recording of the session?
Sure, I'm sure we can send that out.
Okay.
And then also we have students from UD Mercy that's compiling all of the feedback from the different groups, and so we'll send that out as well. So you can either sit through the 2-hour recording or get the cliff notes from the UD Mercy students.
Okay. And speaking of community involvement, so is the Boys and Girls Club, do they have a board of directors where they bring in community?
Yep. So we have our association board of directors, which basically is responsible for all of the clubs underneath our umbrella, all the programs, all the clubs. And then each one of our clubs specifically has a hyper local board. And so we do that because we want to make sure that we have a consistent voice from that community. And then we usually have one person from that board who sits on the association board, so that they have representation. Also, we have a Youth of the Year competition every year where our youth from all of our clubs compete, and then they go on to, we select one, and then they go on to compete nationally. Well, that Youth of the Year also gets a seat on our board of directors, voting. They vote like everybody else, and part of their job is to connect with youth in all of the clubs and make sure that they have an agenda that they push for a year. So for instance, our Youth of the Year this year, Jeremiah is really passionate about mental health. And so he's been doing visioning and listening sessions with all of our clubs, with the youth, and then he'll report back quarterly on, this is his platform. He'll request budget to be able to pretty much go ahead and push his initiative for the year. He'll have outcomes and he'll report back every month or every quarter to the board. So it's really, youth voice is probably the most important to us on the local level. A lot of times we want to make sure that the youth are really heard and feel empowered for lots of reasons. But then once again, there will be at least one representative from that community who sits on our association board.
Okay, thank you. And one more question. Have you thought about a proposed budget, or am I just rushing the process?
Well, so much of it depends on the type of programming, that we're doing, that we would do in there. And then also we're assessing the facilities and what kind of, upgrades, if you will, would be needed. And, but we look at that as a staged approach where it's, what do we need to be able to walk in tomorrow? So there's usually some items that you have to knock out right away just to be able to do that, especially during COVID. There's some items that we have to be able to do. And then we look at, okay, to maximize programming, what's the budget for that? And so we are, definitely talking, we're bringing potential funders along with us on this journey. So you probably saw some of them on the Zoom last week as well, because once again, we want them to hear directly from the Mount Clemens community what that community is saying, so that when we come to them and say, hey, these are the kind of programs we want to offer, it's not a question of if those are the right programs, because they heard direct from the community.
Thank you.
I have one more question. Sean, you asked everyone to shoot for the moon, right? Give it a moonshot. What are you going for? And some people not only shot for the moon, they shot for Mars. And if the question I have is, some of those were very lofty goals, right? Very expensive goals. So how do you balance the programming that works and what you have with what you're able to do too, and keep the community not feeling that they're, okay, we told you what we wanted, but now we didn't get it?
Yeah, I've been doing this, a long time. Even when I was at Ford, I was one of the community leads of the train station. And when we do that moonshot activity, you can imagine all the Ford execs lost their mind. They thought, that we're, saying we're basically going to write a, a blank check. But this is what I know is ultimately at the end of the day, people really do have realistic expectations, but they do like to dream as well. And so I think there's an opportunity to, one, show them how you're in phases. And this is my take on it. I never say anything is impossible, because we've been able to accomplish some things over the years that when they said it, it felt impossible, but then we were still able to accomplish it. So I think there's real power in empowering the community not to ask for the minimum, but to ask for the maximum. That's true empowerment. And then the second piece of it is, you have to ask yourself, so what are they really asking for? So for instance, if they're saying we want to expand the facility, well, that's expensive, right? But what are they really saying? What they're saying is, we want more programming. We want more spaces for this kind of programming. So that may not necessarily mean you expand that facility. It may mean maybe we open up school-based sites or open up another site, right? And so as long as the community understands that you understand kind of the core of what they're asking for and you're delivering on that, I've never had an issue, because they understand that authentically you're trying to meet their needs. And if it looks a little bit different, they're usually fine with that, as long as you're truly authentically trying to meet their needs. So I didn't hear anything, to be honest, that I thought was crazy. I mean, they were asking for splash pads, they're asking for, maybe a pool, things like none of that is really crazy, right? At the end of the day, what they're saying is they want quality programming, right, in the community. They want world-class programming. They don't want hand-me-down programming, right? They want the best in class programming. And I think as long as we're implementing that, I think we're fine.
That's great. Very cool.
Well, Sean, thank you for coming in out of the cold.
Sure, you don't need anything else?
Yeah, right.
No,
Thank you very much for taking
Not a
the
problem.
time. We really do appreciate it. And we'll see you, it sounds like, on the 29th. I think that'll be our next, right? So,
Absolutely.
all right. Going once, go ahead, Sean.
No, I was just going to say, we'll get you the written feedback from the UD Mercy team, and then I'm assuming you'll distribute it to the rest of the commissioners.
Absolutely.
And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out.
Excellent. And
Thank you.
And also, I guess the one ask that we did have at the meeting, and we can ask again, is if you feel confident that you support the idea of continuing this process. Sean and the Boys and Girls Club is asking for letters of support, and so we can get you the details on who to write the letter to. But if each of the commissioners, that would be wonderful, would write a letter of support on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club. That would be really helpful, because they try to collect 25 from the community.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Great. Thank you all. Have a good night.
All right. Take care. Take care. So we'll continue to move on to our department reports. All of them are listed. Does anyone have any questions about the current reports that were given?
I have one. I noticed that, hopefully my internet stays up here. I noticed that the number of permits was up for the quarter, which I think is great. Means homeowners are busy. But I also noticed that the rental inspections and the enforcement, code enforcement numbers were down. Can you give me was there any specific reason for that? What are we making up rental inspections next quarter? What's going on with that?
Mr. Tingley, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
The number of inspections for rental and code enforcement really can fluctuate, month to month. Oftentimes, we are having some challenges with rental inspections because of COVID, being able to get inside people's dwellings, tenants having COVID themselves. And a high number of inspections doesn't necessarily mean, that things are bad. A low number of inspections can mean things are going well, and that we don't have to continually go out and re-inspect properties. So there are a lot of different factors that come in play in terms of, inspections for code enforcement and rental.
Are we current on all of our rental inspections?
How do you mean current?
Well, of all the ones that have reached, it's every 2 years, right?
Oh yeah, we're definitely on top of when they're up at their 2-year mark. We are definitely notifying them and requesting inspections. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hammond, I thought I saw that you had a question.
Yes. Regarding the goal and objectives, number 6, I don't know if you moved that far down with the reports. Or are we
Yep,
going?
that's fine.
Okay.
Nope, go ahead. Yep.
I don't know if this is something that you want me to send to you, but I would like to add to the making Mount Clemens more inclusive, since we don't have anything for the goals and objectives.
For the objectives.
Mhm. And one of them will be to engage the community in a welcoming and safe environment for everyone, regardless of race, gender, religion, sex, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, and disability. And I was thinking this can just be a statement on the city's website, or even if we have signs in City Hall. It's just one idea.
Okay. Good.
And the other one is acknowledging all cultural celebration or holidays. And that could be just a simple,
On social media or something.
exactly, post on social media.
Will you forward those to the city manager for us?
Will do.
Thank you.
That is a good point, though. Are we going to have another workshop where we address some of these objectives or kind of do a review?
I think the first, our first real look at them will be at the evaluation of the city manager. And then, yes, the goal is to have a yearly meeting like we had at the last one. Not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to be with a person who we hire to do the moderator kind of thing, but yes, to do a yearly workshop to then look at these again. So we can adjust. So.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to do just a review session separate from that.
Mhm.
I did, in fact, I spent a good bit of today doing a write-up on it for the budget letter, because the budget does address several of the goals that we haven't been able to address yet. But I did kind of go through all of them as to where things stand.
Okay, I have a couple questions.
Okay, Commissioner Menzer.
And looking at the financial document that you sent us, I'm looking at Dial-A-Ride, and we're at 218% used on our health insurance. The budget was 10,500, and we're at 22,936. Is there a reason for that?
I'll have to look into that one. I don't know offhand.
Okay, and I'm looking at under expenditures for the bond for the ice arena. You have total revenues and total expenditures. You have there's no revenue from the ice arena listed here.
You're looking at the bond fund or the ice arena fund?
Well, it says bond, ice arena, total revenues, total expenditures.
No, there wouldn't be any revenue from the ice arena in the bond fund.
Okay, where would the revenue for the ice arena be?
It'd be in the ice arena fund.
Okay.
Is the ice arena current?
I'm sorry?
Is the ice arena current in terms of reporting, inclusion in the?
Yeah. I believe we're up to date on that report.
Well, here it says under ice arena for debt retirement, principal, interest, fiscal agent fees, those are all zeros. Ice
Yeah, 'cause
arena, total
nothing's been
revenues,
paid towards
total
that.
expenditures. It's still activities for the month. Revenues 114,000. Does that sound right?
It sounds reasonable. The reason you wouldn't see any debt retirement yet is because nothing's due yet. Bond payments are due twice a year. They're not like a consumer loan that are typically paid monthly. And your normal bond payments, one payment is interest only and the other one is principal and interest.
Okay. Okay, I have a bunch of other little questions, but I'm going to go ahead and send them to you in an email. It's really hard to look at these financial reports and ask a bunch of, questions on multiple line items, and hold everybody hostage for those. I also want to point out that the fire department has had a huge increase in rescue calls. Last month it was 179. This month for March it was 253. So that's a huge increase in utilization of our staff. So I just wanted to point those couple things out, and I will send you an email with all of the rest of my questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, it's
Sure.
ready to go, but I can't, they don't hear me.
Dolores, I can hear you.
One. You're trying
There
to
she
calm me
goes.
down.
Okay. Okay, so does anyone else have any further questions on any of the department reports? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to adoption of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Kropp, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Moved by Commissioner Voorhees.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Campbell. Welcome to the meeting, Mr. Campbell.
I had a small technical difficulty, but I was able to fix it.
Good. We're glad to have you back. Okay, so we have moved by Commissioner Voorhees, seconded by Commissioner Campbell. Is there any questions or comments on the agenda? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Thank you. This is the portion of the meeting where we allow the public to participate. All that we ask is that you give us your full name. You abide by our 3-minute rule. And at this time, we're going to put everyone in a line. So if you could give us your first name, and then I will call on each individual to speak. Okay, I see your hand up, Patrick. Is there anyone else who you can either say your first name or raise your hand? Okay. Seeing only Patrick. we
And
will go ahead.
Dolores. And Dolores.
Oh, and Dolores. Okay, sorry. And Dolores. Excellent. All right, we'll go ahead and get started with Patrick. Give us your full name, your address, and then we will start the timer.
138 northbound Gratiot. I'm pretty much speaking on agenda item 10A. I sent my response or my objections to the amendment that was presented at the last meeting. So I was hoping to hear the response back from the city before you guys vote on the second calling or second reading of this amendment. This amendment is not, or this, I'm sorry, ordinance is not for this community. It doesn't fit it. It doesn't benefit the city. It sort of like crams this down the community's throat. Taking something that you guys are saying is expanding as a business, right? So this caregiver initiative that we have, and you guys are making it seem like it's a business, but you don't want it to be a business. So you take it out of a business location and then jam it into a community residential and then force business fees and business permits on it. It doesn't make sense. There's a lot in here that honestly that contradicts what the 2008 MMA law was for. And having a co-op, you guys say that you guys are trying to stop co-ops in commercial buildings, where I haven't seen any. But to do a co-op in a residential, that's not making sense to me. There's a lot of objections that I do have. I've emailed every one of the commissioners and the city manager. I'm hoping to hear the response to this before it's getting voted on today. Thanks.
Thank you. Dolores?
Hey, can you hear me?
We can.
Thank you. Can
Give us your full name and your address, please.
Dolores Kasiniak, 250 Euclid.
Okay, go ahead.
I've been here about 30 years, and about between 25 and 30 years ago, we had a committee that was had the neighborhood plant exchanging gift. We'd exchange the flowering plants or vegetable plants, and I wonder if someone's going to start that up again. It was way before your time, Laura. I think you were about 10 years old at the time.
Bless you, because 25 years ago I wasn't 10.
Or maybe 9. I just wonder if anybody will start up this plant exchange again.
Excellent, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to participate at the moment? Okay, seeing or hearing none, we will go ahead and move on to approval of the administrative responses to issues or questions raised during previous meetings. Mr. Johnson, do we have any?
Nope, there were none.
Okay, moving on to approval of minutes. I'll entertain a
Approve
motion.
the meeting, regular city commission meeting minutes for April 5th, 2021.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Hammond, supported by Commissioner Goodenough. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call please.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Moving on to general business, item 9A, Arbor Day resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the resolution designating Arbor Week and Arbor Day.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Menser, supported by Commissioner Fournier. Mr. Johnson.
I don't think there's any comment required. We've been part of Arbor Week and Arbor Day for a long time. We've been a tree city for a long time, and we'd like to continue to be so.
Okay, excellent. Anybody have any questions or comments?
I just wanted to point out that we have, it was published in one of the newspapers that Mount Clemens is again an arbor or a Tree City, USA. And I wanted to point out that we need to thank the Jeff Wood and his DPS staff for their efforts in, keeping our forestry, our trees pruned, cleaned up, and healthy.
Excellent. Anybody else? Okay, roll call, please.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 9B, approval of purchases and payments of invoices. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve purchases and payment of invoices as presented.
Moved by Commissioner Campbell,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Fournier. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Teresa Lucci for the bids for the dumpster service.
I actually had a question about that one as well. That is only for the water, wastewater and water departments, correct? Or is this for all of our dumpster services? And this is not for residential pickup, correct? I'm assuming that question's for Mr. Wood.
Yeah, that's actually for roll-offs. We get occasionally get a big, large dumpster because of a cleanup or an event or something like that. And then there are roll-offs that are used at the wastewater treatment plant. But it is not has nothing to do with the residential trash.
It's just the same company, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have any other questions?
As long as we're on the GFL contract, when is the residential contract up, and what is the term of it?
Mr.
I'm not
Boyd?
sure the date that it expires. It's, the last renewal of that contract was, I think, was a 5-year contract. So I'm not sure exactly when it expires. I'm guessing possibly 2024.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Anybody else? Questions? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow.
Yes.
Moving on, agenda item 10, consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Crop,
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Menser,
No.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Campbell,
No.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the city manager's report. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. COVID continues to get worse. Michigan is now actually has the worst numbers in the entire nation in terms of weekly new cases. Death rate, however, while climbing, is still well below the numbers seen during the previous peaks. Right now, anybody in Michigan age 16 or older is eligible to receive a COVID vaccination. And I refer anyone who's interested to the Macomb County Vaccine Central link for information on where they can get a vaccine. Update on the branding project survey. As of last Wednesday, 741 people have responded, which is in excess of the goal. We're still looking for input for anyone who works, lives, or visits Mount Clemens. You can take the survey by clicking on the link provided. We're also trying to reach out to some community organizations to encourage greater response. Boys and Girls Club held their first community visioning session on Thursday. This was rescheduled from April 18th when we had originally planned to do it. And it was done as a virtual meeting instead of an in-person meeting as was originally planned. Future agendas of note, we have budget work sessions scheduled for the 27th and 28th. And I have the other future meetings listed. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Johnson?
Yes. Tomorrow is the 20th. We haven't got our budget books. You're planning a meeting for the 27th. You're only giving us 7 days to examine the entire budget for the year. I really hope those budget books are out tomorrow. If they're not, if they're not, we're going to have to talk about rescheduling those meetings. 7 days is not enough time to do a thorough analysis of those of the budgets for each department, in my opinion.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Is there, can I ask, given that, is there a date where the budget book is going to be out?
The book itself, I'm currently hoping to be able to have it Wednesday or Thursday. The online version of it will be available sooner. Because it does typically take an overnight to get it bound.
Donna, unfortunately, I won't be able to deliver that. We're going to be gone for the rest of the week. So hopefully you can have somebody within the city deliver those to.
We can certainly find somebody to deliver it.
Yeah, I'll make sure.
And I do greatly appreciate your efforts in doing this in the past.
I'm more than happy to do it.
Enjoy your trip.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move to our second public participation opportunity. Again, we ask that you give us your full name, abide by our 2-minute rule, and we'll go ahead and take names of those who'd like to speak. Okay, Patrick, I see your hand up. Is there anyone else who would like to get in line for public participation? Okay, hearing no one else. Patrick, go ahead. We'll ask for your full name again and for the record, and then you can have your 2 minutes.
I'm sorry, is it my turn?
Yep, go ahead.
Patrick Abajuda, 138 Northbound Gratiot. I asked questions last week. I sent emails addressing certain issues. This is probably the 3rd or 4th meeting that I actually spoke at, regardless of what the subject matter is concerned. And I've asked questions at that, but I'm not getting a response from the city. Is there a certain reason why the city refuses to respond or acknowledge my questions or emails or whatever it is? I've been in the city for what, almost 11, 13 years. I own property, I rent property, I run a business. I work here, I live here, I play here. I am more a part of this community than a lot of the commission members themselves. And I'm not going to point it out there because, granted, I wasn't born here or anything like that. But I feel that this commission or the city staff ignores the people that are a part of this community. Questions have been asked, no answers have been answered. So unless the city just continues to ignore its community, I just don't understand it. So I'm just putting my 2 cents in. I wish you guys the best with this ordinance. I hope it passes through. I hope the city doesn't get sued, but you'll see it if no one ever complains about it, whatever. Have a good day.
Is there anyone else who would like to participate in this portion of the meeting? Mr. Johnson, I will ask that we respond to Patrick's questions. He has asked at the last 2 meetings and there wasn't a response in the last from our city manager's response. So hopefully we can get that to him. We'll go ahead and move on.
Mayor.
Yep, Mr. Murray.
I would just point out that the email he refers to, which was on Friday afternoon, really does not contain any questions. It's his objections to the caregiver ordinance. And if you review it, you'll see it doesn't ask any questions. It has a number of conclusions of his relative to the ordinance, but I don't think that that is something that should be responded to by the manager.
I mean, I can understand specific, not responding to specifics, but it seems like we would at least acknowledge that, we received his communication. I don't know.
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
Something.
But there is litigation, and there's oftentimes litigation, particularly revolving anything to do with marijuana. And I would hate to see a manager's response to something be utilized in litigation down the road. So that's why I raised the point.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, we'll move up to agenda item 13, commissioners' comments. And we have Commissioner Voorhees.
Mayor Kropp, just one comment. I'm very, very impressed with the Boys and Girls Club presentation by Mr. Wilson. I was able to call in on when they did the presentation at North Broadway Church of Christ. However, I had to leave the meeting when the youth was making his presentation. But I am very, very impressed with what they have to offer. And I think they have a good track record for a number of years. and I'm glad that they will make a proposal to lease the building. And with that, once a Clemite, always a Clemite.
Thank you. Moving on to Commissioner Goodenough.
Yes, I'd like to concur with Commissioner Voorhees. I was very impressed with the meeting with the Boys and Girls Club as well. And I also look forward to working with them in the near future. I also wanted to say that the National Council of Negro Women have had events this last month via Zoom, of course. This Wednesday, there will be a free class for Zumba. You can go to my page, National Council of Negro Women Macomb chapter, if anyone would like to have some exercise for that day. And I just wanted to say thank you to the commission. I am so grateful to be working with you guys. Be blessed and be safe and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Menzer.
I just wanted to let Ms. Gosiniak know that the MSUE extension at the Verkulen building usually does a plant exchange right there at the Verkulen building in the spring, sometime in May. So you might want to check with them. And in addition, Seminole Hills is planning at the Pocket Park at Esplanade and Balmoral a plant exchange on May 22nd. It looks like that's the preferred date. Other than that, happy spring, everybody. Regardless of the snowfall tonight and tomorrow or Wednesday, happy spring. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Campbell.
I have two comments. I was on a walk in Precinct 3, and several of the residents were very happy to see the street sweepers going through. So thank you to Mr. Wood and the street department for that. Also, regarding the Federal Savings and Loan building, I want to know if the owner of that building has been contacted to repair the broken windows that are still laying there that were there 2 weeks ago. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hammond.
Thank you. The Mount Clemens Community Coalition for Youth and Families will be having a drug take-back day this Saturday, April 24th from 10 to 2 at Wilson's Gym. Also, there's 2 COVID walk-in vaccination clinics for the next 4 Saturdays. One is at Greater Morning Star Missionary Baptist Church on Robertson, and the other one is at North Broadway Church of Christ, and the times are 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you. I want to say happy spring too. And you know, it wouldn't be spring in Michigan without a snowfall. So we just got to get it over with. But I have to say again, I've already mentioned it and everyone I think has, I think that the Boys and Girls Club have presented us with an incredible opportunity to utilize the Carnes building and give a quality program to the children in Mount Clemens. Actually families in Mount Clemens. So I really applaud what they've done and appreciate all the work they're doing in the community to get feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. I think pretty much I had the drug take back, so somebody covered that. The Boys and the Seminole Hills plant exchange, that was covered. The only thing I had to add was that the street sweeper, once again, we're in street sweeper season and we haven't done anything about notifying people for when the street sweeper will be in their area. And so once again, I've offered up a solution for that many times, that we could institute a do not park on your street during your garbage pickup day. That would also help with our garbage issues. And during certain hours of the day. They do it in many other cities successfully. So anyway, once again, I'm going to throw that out there because we're back in that season. So I'd like to see us discuss that as an option. And I would just like to, of course, concur the Boys and Girls Club. I'm really excited how the meeting last Thursday went with the community. I felt like the community responded and was very happy with with how that went. And so I think moving forward with the Boys and Girls Club is an exciting opportunity. And so I look forward to helping with that situation. And I think that is all I have today. Get out there and do your spring cleanup. We are all, a part of this community, and it takes everyone to keep our community looking beautiful. And it doesn't cost anything to go out and pull your weeds. So get out there and clean up, just like all of us have. I found a dead bunny in my backyard, and there's been a coyote spotted on the river, and we did see remnants of that. So everyone, be careful out there. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor Crop, I move that we adjourn.
Support.
Or
Moved by Commissioner Voorhees, supported by Commissioner Campbell. Roll call, please.
Menzer,
Absolutely.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow,
yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.